Seen this happen in my life and in other people's lives so many times. Most relationships really don't make sense. I see it week after week. I see a woman drag a guy to the bar, and you can see this. The relationship now is just characterized by disinterest, by coldness. There's really nothing going on. She's not really into him. He doesn't really know why he's there. He's on his phone. She's dancing. There's just a lot of boredom. You get the feeling it's kind of countdown to breakup. And these are young people. These are people in college, people in their 20s. I see it week after week. And the reality is that most relationships are kind of get started off because of the sexual impulse, because of sex, because of libido. If it wasn't for sex, most men and women wouldn't spend that much time with each other. We just have different priorities, different personalities, different interests, different this, that, and the other, which is fine. I'm not criticizing men or women. But if we weren't sexually interested in each other, we would not spend a lot of time with each other, right? And people make fake personalities, they make fake interests, they have fake lives, fake lifestyles, fake careers, whatever, totally based off of underlying sexual impulses. It's pretty clear once you see it. Because once if you become disinterested in sex, you desexualize your brain, and you get, a lot of times just people get older and they're no longer motivated by those things. You start to realize and see it a lot, where it's just like, yeah, that man is with that woman, and there's nothing really there. There's personality-wise, they have different interests, they have different goals, they have different ambition, different everything. They're only just there for the sex. And that's fine, that's part of life. But once you see it, it's hard to not see, right? And you see how fragile and empty most relationships are. If it wasn't for the sex, then there'd be no reason to even speak to each other. And of course, what happens when you enter into a relationship, well, as I said before, the sexual desire goes away, because sexual desire is motivated a lot by mystery, by ambiguity, by uncertainty, by a sense of wonder, a sense of curiosity. And then once you enter into a relationship, it's like, well, things become too certain, they become too predictable. You lose your spark, you lose the chemistry. And then, so once the sexual impulse goes away, then it's like, you realize there's no real point to anything. And you somehow, now you can't even carry conversation. It's crazy how even, conversationally, it's like people don't really have any need to talk to each other unless they're flirting and they're trying to be sexy or get someone's interest or whatever the case may be. So you start to notice this as, certainly as you get older. I mean, I'm in my 30s, I still have libido, but it's definitely not what I was when I was 20. I see a lot more. And so you just have to be self-aware of that. It's quite rare for actually a man and a woman to be genuinely interested in each other and to have the shared common goals and common interests. You realize it's quite rare to see that relationship. They do exist, obviously, but more often than not, that's really quite missing. And so that's why most relationships are really very temporary. I found that when that does exist, the man has incredible vision, incredible passion, incredible drive and belief. He's like a train on a train track. It's like, I'm in point A, I'm going to point B, and that's my focus, and that's what I'm doing. And a woman comes along and goes, okay, I want to hop on this train, and there they go. And everything's sort of subservient to the goal or to the destination. And what's important about this goal and about this vision is that it's slightly out of reach. It's slightly unattainable. It's slightly ambiguous, but not too ambiguous, not too unattainable, right? It's just enough to keep them going. It's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. They can envision it, you can see what it is and what it takes to get there and whatever, but it's not quite attainable. It's always in the distance, it's always on the horizon. So you can see how quite rare that is in life. I mean, most men don't have that. Most men either have smaller goals and then they accomplish them and then they get bored and it's, what's next? Or they don't really have a big vision. Most men and women, their visions or their goals are given to them by society, by school, by their employer, by Hollywood, wherever the case may be. And of course, women have their own. Even when you have great vision and drive, it's like most women have their own. You see that a lot as you get older too, where it's like, yeah, it's harder to date because it's like the man has his career path, his goals, his vision. The woman has her own career path, her goals, her own vision. And it's like, yeah, she's going there, he's going there. And they can't really make the two work together. It's just what it is. Happens all the time. And of course that happens too within a long-term relationship or marriage where it's like, at first they're together and then it's like they start to peel off because they have different goals, different visions, so on and so forth. It happens all the time. And another thing too is men will complain, I've complained before, where it's like you feel that coldness, you feel that indifference, that boredom when you're dating a woman and then she loses interest. But in a funny way, that loss of interest, that coldness, that indifference is actually closer to her truer self than the warm, flirty, sexy side of her. And of course, yeah, I mean, her libido, her sexual interest is a part of her, for sure. But no one lives in a state of perpetual arousal. It's a big part of who we are, but it's not entirely who we are. Boredom is a part of life. Indifference is a part of life. Most of us spend our days just, commuting, going to work, cooking dinner, going to the gym, doing things that aren't particularly exciting, aren't particularly arousing or sexy or whatever. Obviously, we look for fun, we look for excitement. That's obviously, again, that's part of life. But like boredom is a big part of life. You will spend a huge part of your life being bored. You'll spend a huge part of your life doing mundane tasks. And so when she looks at you and she's bored and she's indifferent and she's cold and she's just sort of bleh, whatever, in a weird way, you're kind of closer then than when, that night of passion or the initial stages, because those initial stages were driven by sexual interest, is driven by libido. And that's a part of life, yes, but not a huge part. Especially shrinks as you get older. So, a lot of men's dating advice is, never let your woman get bored. Like, never be boring. Never be boring in your relationship. Da-da-da. It's like you're going to be like, she's going to experience the full spectrum of emotions around you. Arousal, excitement, anxiety, sadness, and also emptiness and boredom. And so it's really, when it comes to long-term goals or long-term relationship, it has more to do with how easily does your woman get bored and how does she manage feelings of boredom. Some people, men and women, get bored very easily. There are people who spend their lives in war zones and places of conflict and whatever, and they experience even a second of boredom, they can't deal with it. They have to, they'll practically either kill themselves or go back into a war zone, into the front lines, because they just can't handle it. They need constant stimulation and excitement and drama and conflict, or whatever the case may be. And if you're not like that, if you like more stability or predictability, and you meet someone who needs that constant stimulation, yeah, it's not going to work. And of course, if they manage feelings of boredom well, that's a good sign. You know, if they go, oh, I'm bored, I'm gonna spend more time with friends, I'm gonna call my sister, I'm gonna go on a vacation, whatever the case may be, that's good. And get re-involved in hobbies. Or if they blame you and they seek sexual excitement, and so they'll either cheat on you or replace you, well, there you go. That's just who they are. That's what they're going to do. But boredom is a part of life. It's going to enter into any relationship. And that loss of sexual interest, yeah, it's hard to really maintain that over the long term. There's very few examples of that. And so real relationships that last are built off of bigger things than the sexual impulse and sexual drive or the need for short-term entertainment. That's just what it is. Because I've seen it's an inevitability that relationships will fail and are temporary because it's built off of sexuality and libido. And libido and sexuality gets killed when there's too much certainty. So that's just what it is. So most relationships, just to repeat the tagline, like most relationships just don't make sense, not over the long term. And you can see, you can really, really predict the end and the breakup from a mile away, especially when you're not a part of it. You're just witnessing an acquaintance or a friend. It's really quite obvious. And it's nothing to, no use crying over spilled milk, I say.